The long-running public inquiry into events surrounding the 2015 death in police custody of Sheku Bayoh has been thrown into crisis following the resignation of its chair, Lord Bracadale. The retired judge quit yesterday amid Scottish Police Federation claims that private meetings between him and the Bayoh family had created an appearance of bias. The family themselves say they feel let down by the criminal justice system.
It's not just the Scottish Police Federation who were responsible for sabotaging this inquiry, but also the Chief Constable and the Solicitor General, all of whom decided to back the application for the judicial review. The Bayoh family submit the position of the Solicitor General is untenable. She claims to act in the public interest, but for the family, nothing could be further from the truth. She has acted to protect an archaic institution, the Crown Office, from scrutiny.
I won't give up because I've always maintained that I want to know the truth. So it's taken me over a decade. I'm still fighting, and I promise Sheku and his children that I'll fight until I get the truth, and that's what I'm going to do.
Well, with us now, Dr. Nick McKerrell, a senior lecturer in law at Glasgow Caledonian University. Thanks so much for joining us, Nick. Let's just remind ourselves what happened. 31-year-old Sheku Bayoh died in May 2015 after an incident in a street in Kirkcaldy involving police officers. So the inquiry got underway in 2020. So what was the purpose of the inquiry? Why was it set up?
Well, when anyone dies in police custody, there needs to be a fatal accident inquiry in Scots law. However, the Scottish Government intervened to make this a deeper inquiry into looking at not just the circumstances around the death of Sheku Bayoh, which is required if you die in police custody, but the events that followed it, what happened in the immediate aftermath, but also critically was race a factor in the incident surrounding the death of Sheku Bayoh at that incident.
Now, Lord Bracadale resigned yesterday. What was your reaction to that?
Shocking decision in a way, that because just 2 months ago, Lord Bracadale issued a very thorough and long judgment outlining why he didn't believe that his actions showed any form of apparent bias. And he was quite clear, a lot of authority, 100-page ruling on that. So 2 months down the line, the judicial review brought by the Scottish Police Federation was going to be heard in a couple of weeks. What Lord Bracadale seems to have said is that a number of core participants, that's groups that are in the inquiry, no longer have faith in him. That's not just the Scottish Police Federation, but must include other core participants like the Police Scotland and perhaps the Solicitor General as well.
And how unusual is it for a judge like that to step down from an inquiry?
It's not unusual for a judge to change in an inquiry. For example, the undercover policing inquiry that's going on just now is likely to have 3 judges, but that's through illness and retirement and so on, because it's taken so long. So it's not unusual for a judge to be replaced. It's very unusual for a judge to step down because he believes the people have lost faith in him and his role because of bias. And it's absolutely unusual for a judge to step down at the end of an inquiry before the report is published and after the evidence has been gathered over so many days. Yeah,
and we heard some of the family reaction there. They're clearly very concerned about this.
Yes, I mean, I don't know how this pans out eventually. 120 days of evidence were given, going into very harrowing details of what went on around the death of Sheku Bayoh. The evidence has been gathered. At this stage, for a judge to step down, if a judge is going to replace, it's not simply, it wouldn't be as straightforward, I don't think, of a judge just taking on all the work that Lord Bracadale has done, I assume, because the argument is he's now biased. So another judge would have to look again at what's been gathered. Who knows if he'd want to call people back, because he might not, or she might not want to rely on just recordings. It's totally unprecedented for an inquiry to break down in this way at this stage.
Now, the Police Federation, who represent rank and file officers, on the other hand, wanted Bracadale to stand down, didn't they? And this is what they had to say earlier.
Well, we believed it because the meetings took place with the family that we weren't aware of, and all the core participants should have the same access to the judge, and they never. So because of that, we had real concerns. It's unfortunate we're in this position, but it has happened. And the question that has to be asked is, a public inquiry should be fair, open and transparent. And it was clear here that that wasn't the case.
What do you make of their position?
Well, this was dealt with in a lot of detail with Lord Bracadale, these meetings. In public inquiries, particularly where there's death involved, the families of victims are central to the process. A lot of inquiries, the families of victims give evidence first. So the Grenfell Tower disaster in London had weeks of the victims of the fire, the families giving evidence. Inquiries going from the Omagh inquiry to the Southport inquiry has said they want to speak to families of victims. So what Bracadale argued was to keep these families on board in the Sheku Bayoh case, he required to meet them to assure them. So he was confident that what he did was fair. He's now stepped down because he doesn't believe enough people support his view on that, and that is unprecedented.
So, what do you make of what will mean for the inquiry in terms of its credibility?
Well, the evidence is there, and a lot of quite harrowing and detailed evidence has been gathered. What is done with that evidence, if it's required to go back to it, if they appoint another judge to oversee it, then the question mark will be raised. Will they be challenged if they meet with the family as bias by other participants? It puts a shadow over it. I think the evidence is there, but how that evidence is dealt with and how the decision is made of who's going to oversee it is going to be critical.
Yeah, and the family lawyer, Aamer Anwar, has said that he thinks potentially this might lead to a delay of possibly years in the inquiry. Very
likely. I mean, it's such a critical stage. Lord Bracadale himself, if he was drawing up the report, I would imagine that would have taken him the best part of a year to write that. But if you're appointing somebody new, they've got to look at the evidence afresh, because the challenge is the judge before that was biased, had apparent bias, then that could take years, put years on the inquiry, which already has gone on for over 10 years since the incident occurred.
And it's cost, I think we're talking about over 50 million.
Yeah. 6 public inquiries in Scotland, millions of pounds is spent on them all the time, and this doesn't seem that it will be concluded soon.
Okay, a lot at stake here. Nick, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening.